For 6 years, Emma Maddox lived in absolute darkness. Her father, Bruce "Ironhand" Maddox, president of a Reno Hells Angels chapter, had spent thousands on specialists. Every appointment ended the same: shrugs, jargon like idiopathic, and bills for tests that showed her eyes were structurally perfect. Yet Emma constantly rubbed her right eye, wincing at a pressure no doctor could see. Tired of the sterile waiting rooms, Bruce took Emma to a neighborhood park. He didn't know that the answer to 6 years of darkness was sitting on a worn wooden bench 20 feet away. It wasn't a specialist. It was Daniel, a 10-year-old homeless boy who had survived since his mother died in a shelter fire and his father abandoned him. Daniel had learned to be invisible, and in that invisibility, he saw what others missed. He could read physical pain with clinical accuracy as Emma moved toward the swings. Daniel noticed her cautious steps and the way she pressed her right eye. He leaned forward, catching the sunlight at just the right angle. There, at the corner of her eye, was a tiny, translucent mass, a membrane nearly invisible unless caught in specific light. It was on the surface, not inside where scans would look, but positioned to block her pupil entirely. That Daniel's heart hammered. He knew he could fix it in seconds, but approaching a biker's daughter was dangerous. One wrong move, and the system would swallow him. But seeing her struggle, Daniel chose to risk his freedom. He jumped up, his bare feet hitting the gravel. Bruce's reaction was primal, stepping between them. "Back up," Bruce growled, his voice ablade. "I'm sorry," Daniel said, voice cracking. "But please. Something's on her eye. I can see it. I think I can help." Bruce grabbed Daniel's wrist, not violently, but with a warning. "You've got 5 seconds to explain yourself." Daniel didn't flinch. "There's a growth on the surface. It's covering her pupil. That's why she can't see. I've helped with this before. Please, just let me try." Something in Daniel's raw concern made Bruce hesitate. He saw a mirror of his own desperation. Bruce stepped aside just enough, his hand still tied on Daniel's wrist. Daniel knelt, bringing himself to Emma's level. "Hi," he whispered. "This might feel weird, but I'm going to help you, okay?" Emma smiled, trusting the gentle tone. Daniel's right hand approached with a precision born of necessity. Bruce stood coiled, ready to yank the boy back if Emma cried out. Daniel tilted Emma's head to catch the light, seeing the thin membrane clearly. His touch was feather-light. His index finger and thumb made contact with the edge of the growth. Emma's eyes widened, but she didn't pull away. Daniel began to lift with steady, gentle pressure, peeling the membrane free. It resisted at first, held by years of adhesion. Seconds stretched into eternity. Then, with a final, delicate movement, the obstruction came away completely. Daniel stepped back, the translucent sliver held between his fingers. Emma blinked. Her eyes, once unfocused, suddenly darted. She gasped, her small hands flying to her mouth. The afternoon sunlight, the green of the patchy grass, the leather of her father's jacket, it all rushed in at once. "Daddy," she whispered, her voice trembling. For the first time, she wasn't looking at the sound of his voice. She was looking into his eyes. Bruce fell to his knees, his tough exterior shattering. "Emma, can you see me?" She reached out, her fingers tracing the lines of his weathered face, confirming with sight what she had only known through touch. Tears streamed down Bruce's face. He turned to thank the boy, but Daniel was already backing away, his survival instincts telling him to disappear before the authorities were called. "Wait!" Bruce shouted. He didn't grab Daniel this time. He reached into his pocket and pulled out every bit of cash he had, but then stopped. This boy didn't just need money. He had saved Bruce's world. Bruce stood up, his stature no longer threatening but protective. "What's your name, kid?" "Daniel." The boy replied, looking at the ground. "Daniel," Bruce said firmly, "you're not going back to that bench. You saved my daughter. In my world, we take care of our own." Bruce didn't just give him a reward, he gave him a home. He brought Daniel back to the clubhouse, and the Hells Angels, men the world feared, became the boy's guardians. They made sure he was fed, clothed, and educated. Bruce officially adopted him a year later. The story of the president's daughter and the homeless boy became legend in Reno. Emma grew up seeing the world through the gift Daniel gave her, and Daniel grew up no longer needing to be invisible. He became a renowned surgeon, specializing in pediatric ophthalmology, inspired by the 30 seconds in a park where a nobody performed a miracle that 17 specialists missed. The sun began to set over Reno, casting long shadows across the park where it all began. Emma and Daniel, now adults, often returned to that same worn wooden bench. You know, Emma said, watching the next generation of children play. Everyone called it a miracle. Daniel smiled, looking at the precision of his own hands. It wasn't a miracle, Emma. I just looked where they weren't watching. Bruce, now gray-haired but still wearing his colors, sat between them. He looked at his daughter's clear eyes and then at the sun he had gained from the streets. He realized then that the darkness hadn't just been Emma's, it had been his own. Daniel hadn't just removed a membrane from a little girl's eye. He had opened the hearts of a whole brotherhood. The Hells Angels provided a scholarship in Daniel's name for homeless youth, ensuring that no child with a gift would ever have to remain invisible again. They learned that sometimes the most profound healing doesn't come from a lab or a high-priced clinic, but from the simple, brave act of a child who refuses to look away from someone else's pain. Emma eventually married a man who treated her with the same tenderness Daniel had shown that day. At the wedding, Bruce gave a speech that brought the toughest bikers to tears. He spoke of the day the light came back, not just for Emma, but for all of them. He spoke of a 10-year-old boy who taught a president what true strength looked like. Daniel, standing as the best man, looked out at the sea of leather jackets and smiling faces. He remembered the cold nights on the park bench and the fear of being seen. He realized that the greatest miracle wasn't that he gave Emma her sight. It was that in doing so, he finally found a place where he was truly seen himself. The Iron Angels, as they were sometimes called in the neighborhood, became known for more than just their bikes. They became the protectors of the forgotten, the eyes for those in the dark, and a living reminder that help often comes from the most unexpected places. Years later, a small plaque was placed on that worn wooden bench. It didn't mention the bikers or the blindness. It simply read, "For those who see what others miss." Emma and Daniel's bond remained unbreakable, a testament to the 30 seconds that changed everything. The darkness was gone, replaced by a light that grew brighter with every year, fueled by a biker's gratitude and a homeless boy's courage. The world was no longer a place of educated guesses for Emma. It was a vibrant, colorful reality, all because a boy chose to be brave instead of invisible. In the end, Bruce Maddox realized that his daughter's sight was the second greatest gift he received that day. The first was the reminder that humanity exists in the cracks of society, and that a heart of gold can be found under a threadbare shirt. They lived their lives as a family, forged not by blood, but by a moment of pure, selfless clarity in a dusty Reno park. The darkness was over, and for the first time in 6 years, everyone could finally see.